out to our friends at Ask You. Karl coming here from Snake Nation, saying hello from Cape Town. Wanted to answer some questions around creativity and innovation. And so I hope you find these answers helpful and just again sharing some thoughts based upon my experience as a creative and as an innovator. So question number one was to share some initial thoughts on what the world needs now more than ever, creatives and innovators. Like, is that what the world really needs? And I think, you always, especially in as dynamic a world as we're living in, where you have some of the biggest migrations of humanity happening, whether or not that's the conflict or other reasons, there's a lot of movement happening right now on Earth. And so more than ever, I think we need creators and innovators. Creators because we like to think about things a little differently. We have a unique viewpoint, we have unique needs, but we also help fuel the global creative economy, which is a multi-trillion-dollar economy that Snake Nation wants to make sure more and more young Black and brown creators can participate in. So we believe that absolutely creatives are needed, and innovators as well, especially in the digital space, are critical to Africa's future and the world's future at large, right? When we're dealing with new problems, we have to have new solutions. And that requires people that can look at things and innovate on existing models. And so, while you may have somebody who's a creative that can look at something and think about it totally differently, I think an innovator is able to take existing models and then elevate them, tweak them, change them to make them more interesting and relevant and helpful to more people. In layman's language, what is creativity and innovation? Are there different categories of creatives and innovators? I think when you talk about creativity can be that spark. It's an idea. Maybe you're making something that's never been done before, or maybe you're just making your take on something that inspired you. I think creativity and innovation are very connected. When I think about innovation as it relates to versus creativity, to me, innovation is sort of like, how do we take an existing model and expand on it, make it better? And that's how I view it, as like this is an innovation to an existing thing versus a creation of something entirely new. And then the absolutely different categories of creators and innovators. Just within creativity alone, you can have film, fashion, music, dance. We view technology as like a creation. Gaming, these are all verticals. Art, these are all verticals of creativity. And then when you talk about innovation, that's usually the application of technology to, furthering a model or making it more adaptable, lighter, better for the market. This kind of depends upon where you want to point your innovation. You can innovate in healthcare, you can innovate in finance, you can innovate in agriculture, and all of those existing production, manufacturing, these are all areas that can all be innovated upon, and that's what we see as sort of the difference between creatives and innovators. But of course they're very tightly connected. Most times creators like to shake up the status quo and make new things. What role have creatives and innovators played in the past, in recent times? What have they been doing? And so, I think a lot of the, new innovations that have come about, let's say social media is an innovation on media. It's an innovation on television, and it's an innovation on newspapers, right? So what has digital media meant to traditional media? And then, and so that's one thing that you see as a big way that we now get the most of our news and information from social media, from the internet. And of course, this has placed traditional media in a precarious position where it once kind of ruled all of the attention. Now it has to share that attention with devices like this or devices like that. And so that's really the difference, right? In terms of, things that are happening now are innovating upon, existing models like social media being an innovation upon traditional media. And then of course, creators then look at these platforms and build for the platforms. And so I think when you talk about Web3 and what Web3 means, and how this connection of decentralized monetary systems, culture and creativity intersecting, That's really where you see Web3 living, where, blockchain-based technologies, digital currencies can share value in ways that hasn't been possible now across distances and, much more efficient timing than previous monetary systems. So this is also, again, further innovation, and fintech we see as being a major innovation upon traditional technology and banking. And I'm going to keep going here down to the next question. Did COVID-19 present an opportunity for creators and innovators? What has been their contributions to the global fight? And so absolutely, man, we actually know, I think COVID taught a lot of people that they can work from anywhere and under really, stressful circumstances. So, really like this notion of distance learning, digital nomad lifestyle, these are all lifestyles that really got accelerated with COVID and normalized. Working from home is normal now. Homeschooling, also way more normalized as well during COVID. So I think you saw a lot of people, not just creators, but a lot of people finding, I like to call it another gear. You find out there's another thing you can add to your mix to help you make it through tough circumstances. And I absolutely think that, you really saw creators, jumping in and learning how to contribute under really, wild circumstances. D-Nice, another example of a DJ that really embraced the fact that everybody was at home and started doing his lives on IG. And this was at a time when no one could go out and hear music, And so next thing you know, you had Michelle Obama in there, listening to D-Nice. And so this is just an example of how DJs and creators utilized COVID and contributed something back to try to help bring people back to life. But then I think you also come across new ways to earn as a creator as well, which is a byproduct of COVID. So now more digital streaming, web monetization. These are all areas that we're leaning in on as we've seen, our eyes open to new ways to help bring value to creators' lives. Do we need some special skill set to belong to the space? Is there a space for nerds? Can one learn the skills, apply, and thrive? And I think everybody has the ability to create something. Whether or not you're going to be great at it or not, or whether or not you take to it. I think is a function of time and practice. So anybody that wants to develop a skill, they're willing to apply themselves. I think that they can accomplish that skill. Some people may be more naturally inclined to be creators than others, but I think it is something that people have the capacity to do. Now, whether or not you can be good enough to make a living from it, that's a question. But I think everybody has the ability to create and to contribute. It's a God-given talent and right to create. No one has to give you permission to be a creator, and so it's a matter of you finding an audience that connects with your unique style. And maybe somebody may see your clothing, listen to your music, or look at your art, and it speaks to them. And that's the beauty of creativity. Just do what is in you to do. And I think ultimately you can find an audience, especially if you're consistent and you make it a point to continue to improve your craft. Because as with anything, it's about putting in the time. As they say, most times it takes about 10,000 hours of practice to master anything, whether or not that's art down to being an athlete. And so if you recommend you take a look at Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell, which is a great analysis of 10,000 hours, those same 10,000 hours that made Michael Jordan, or the same 10,000 hours that made the Beatles amazing, or Jay-Z amazing. And so these are those parallels that could be interesting to other creators and innovators. What are the career and funding opportunities that the youth can explore? And so I think, of course, we know a lot of the careers, whether or not that's from technology to medicine, all exist, right? I think new careers that are interesting are those that lean more into, digital as a basis. And so tech enabled companies, right? So technology is going to impact everything from car insurance to how you get your food, to how you send money, to how you consume your favorite show. And so, those opportunities, a lot of the jobs that are being had or will be had are not actually being taught in college right now, right? People are making their own way and then learning and teaching themselves and then learning through doing. And so I think you're going to see a lot more of that. And so those opportunities to become entrepreneurial should always be there. I think the funding and career opportunities that we hope to contribute as Snake Nation will always be about connecting and creating a positive and ecosystem that can contribute to young people's livelihoods. And so that, in our mind, require commitment from government, commitment from private entities, whether or not that's companies or NGOs, and really strong partnerships, and forging that alliance so that we can all help those young people that need it, and that frankly, looking at the staggering rates of youth unemployment, we know that there is a need to facilitate the growth of this industry for the good of our young people. So that is something that we're passionate about pursuing, and we always look out for great partners to help us along that mission. What are the necessary commitments to be made by youth, by governments, by entrepreneurs, by educational institutions, etc.? And so, when we think about a thriving ecosystem and what we call like the way forward, it requires a couple of things. When you start with youth, you need youth that are, committed to their futures and are curious, are inquisitive, are willing to explore and discover, willing to invest time and energy in the development of their own skills and in their own voice. And that's really what you need. And whether or not that's somebody that is a creator or somebody that maybe identifies more as a curator, the point is that we need to build tools and ecosystems that can benefit everybody that participates in the creative economy. Governments, I think, are awesome in the sense that they can actually jumpstart industries with tax incentives, with policies geared to, hold, corporations accountable to young people and to, Black and brown communities, so that if they're operating in your country, and, government can then say to, different corporations, here are these incentives for you to, in turn, make sure that you're doing your contributions to the young people and to economic empowerment. A lot of the policy that we see here around BEE in South Africa. And so we think there's a lot of room to grow, especially in the media and entertainment space, where a lot of the players have been slow to come to the table. We would love to be a partner in helping governments and private corporations in those spaces make a difference and make an impact in the creative economy. Entrepreneurs, we understand intimately. We are entrepreneurs, been entrepreneurs, pretty much our whole lives. And so as founders, we get it. And so I think ultimately entrepreneurs have to be committed to their product. They have to be committed to their vision and what they want to build and how they can add value. And I think, if entrepreneurs stay focused on whatever the problem is that the entrepreneur is trying to solve, the ultimate question you want to answer is, how can I add value to the lives of my community and the world at large? And maybe your contribution may be in energy, or maybe your contribution may be in cannabis, or your contribution may be in the creative economy like ours. But I think, you have to do what is with what speaks to you. You have to sort of solve the problem that speaks to you to solve. And so I think as creators, we saw a problem that we wanted to solve for creators. And so if you're somebody that maybe worked in energy your whole life, you want to say, I'm tired of this fossil fuel. How do I get into green energy? How do I do that? How do I solve that problem? How do I bring green energy to as many people as possible? That may be their life's mission. And so, we just say that entrepreneurs need to be dedicated to their vision. They need to be relentless in pursuit of their vision and in attainment of their vision, and relentless in the measurement and their performance. And that's how entrepreneurs get to be entrepreneurs for decades. You can't escape the rigor and the work that it takes to be an entrepreneur. Even if you are your own boss, you still need to be able to be the best possible entrepreneur that you can be. Educational institutions are amazing partners. Snake Nation has a great partnership with All African Student Union. And so thank you all for being such amazing partners to us. We are on 52 campuses right now with Snake Nation. We look to come into every campus on the continent with this on-ramp into the creative economy. And so we really are very keen on educational partners because they have a lot of built-in infrastructure, because they have young people going there searching for answers, building out their futures. And we want to make sure that while they are there looking for answers, they consider the creative economy as a way forward, and that we give them the tools and the network and the access to opportunity that they would need to enter, so that there can be no barriers to entry. And really, when you think about sort of the outcome of all this creative activity, probably the single biggest positive outcome will be the freeing of our minds around the owning of our narrative, right? And so where we can see one another as human beings, when people can understand what a Black story is like from a Black creator from lived experience, not people's interpretation of our lives or their regurgitation of stereotypes, which is what you see a lot of, right? So the Black man as thug, killer, gangster, whatever. These are all narratives that are in our head delivered to us on a media platter, right? So it's critical that we own our own narratives and say, look, anything I want to be in my life, I can be, and there needs to be a platform to help raise that pure, unfiltered voice up and connect it with opportunity to help make it sustainable. That's what we're building. So we are absolutely excited to be, able to share some thoughts, some ideas, some feedback, and some advice with you today. If you want to check us out at snakenation.co, you can check us out there, sign up for the beta, see what we're building, check out our platform. It's incredible. And again, thank you, SU, for being an adult partner, man. And we look forward to work with you more in the future. Watch out for Africa 4.0 coming your way. Peace.